Hey everyone, Carrie back here with Homeschool Coffee Break, where we help you stop the overwhelm so you can actually take a coffee break. I don't have a coffee cup today, but let's talk about a subject that by the end of the school year, even if you year-round school, this is a topic I am pretty sure you feel burned out. How do we homeschool without burnout? How can we simplify our homeschool so you can enjoy the journey? I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. Before we dive into that, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please click the little subscribe button, and that would mean the world to me, but also it would help us get this message out to more and more people. So that would be great. And if there's a place to leave a review or leave a comment, why don't you do that as the end of this particular podcast episode? If you have ever felt overwhelmed, stretched thin, like you're drowning in lesson plans, laundry, cooking, chauffeuring, and all the expectations, you are not alone. What we want to do is talk about how this is preventable and some practical steps that you can take so you can actually enjoy the journey, enjoy your children. So, when I talk about burnout, what is burnout to you? Why does this happen? I think burnout happens because we are trying to do too much and we are expecting perfection. It is so easy in today's society. We have social media. You're comparing your life to someone's highlight reels. They're not putting a picture on social media of getting out of bed with bad breath and their hair all going in 10 different directions. You know, the other thing you might be is you might be taking the public school, traditional school model and trying to put it into homeschool. And in 2 weeks, you feel totally defeated. Or maybe it's been all year you're trying it and you're like, I am never going to homeschool again. Burnout feels like constant pressure, guilt, exhaustion, and comparison. Think about that. Which one of those do you feel the most? Pressure, guilt, exhaustion, comparison. You see, what happens is we have mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion. And what does that do to you? It steals our joy from our family, from our children, our relationships, our homeschooling. Why does that happen? Because you are trying to do too much. You are chasing the perfect homeschool, which really doesn't exist, let's be honest. And too often you are comparing yourselves to others. God calls us to faithfulness, not busyness. But yet, in our society today, we wear busyness like a little badge of honor. How are you doing it? I am so busy. And I've said it myself. Is that what we need to say? No. Oh, I'm having great time with my kids. Oh, I just got to do this service project with my family or something like that. In Matthew 11:28, Jesus says, come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So the first thing you need to really do is go to God, talk to him about it, and start to listen to him to find out what are some of the changes that you can make in your family or your homeschool. We had to make some major changes for us personally. I'm going to share some of those. Before I do, I want to go back in history to Charlotte Mason, the mid 1800s. She was a British educator. She believed education should be a life-giving instead of life-sucking atmosphere. It should not be an exhausting checklist. What did Charlotte Mason encourage? She encouraged short lessons, outdoor time, living books, and not busy work, twaddle, not all that stuff. That is what was happening back in the mid 1800s. Education was like going into workbooks, going into things that you could just measure by little checklists. That is not education. And right now, when I am publishing this, it is springtime outdoors. Your kids should be outdoors half the time. Go look up thousand hour outdoors, something like that. It's got a great thing, and you can easily implement that into your homeschool. Charlotte Mason pushed back on just rote memorization and long hours at a desk. She wasn't opposed to memorization as long as it had a purpose. And let's face it, we can make memorization fun just by adding a song to it or adding a little some visuals to it. Memorization is good. I think it stretches our mind, but when you just do it for no reason, that's not worth it. And if you have your kids sitting at their desk for more than 20 or 30 minutes at a time, that is long. They need to have short lessons as well. She also helped her families embrace simplicity, which is what I want to encourage you to do as well. Why? Because simplicity works. A relaxed, intentional approach still leads to strong results. A checklist does not lead to strong results. Simplicity, a relaxed, intentional approach will lead to strong results. How can we do it? Let's first look at number one. Focus on your relationships over rigor. Now, I'm not opposed to like rigorous lessons and them really stretching their mind, but when it's busy work, that is not good. Relationships are the most important thing you can do to raise your kids in your homeschool. You know, I do a lot of interviews with Homeschool Superheroes, Life Skills Leadership Summit, and pretty much all the people who have finished homeschooling, one of the things that always comes up is the most important thing you can do is build relationships with your kids. Build them vertically with God and then horizontally within your family. You can simplify your life, your family, your home, your homeschool just by focusing on what matters most: relationships, character, a love of learning, and a tools of learning and critical thinking skills. So, how do we do this? First of all, you might just ask yourself, what do we really need to accomplish today? Not do what's on, not what on your lesson plans, that's a checklist. What's the one or two things you really need to accomplish each day? And you may even have an overall view of this semester. These are the three things that I want to make sure that we do as a family. You see, what happens is we feel all this pressure that turns to burnout. But if you have a homeschool mom, and maybe you are a homeschool mom who is all into making sure we do everything, you come to your science unit, but you see that your kid is having a tough time, and it's more important to just cuddle up on the couch and read together. You drop the science unit to spend time with your child reading together through a tough season. I'm going to tell you that connection of sitting together and reading together will last much longer than a science experiment. Now, I'm not poo-pahing science. I'm just using that as an example. What is it that will connect you with your kids? That is what we want to do, is build relationships. Another example in history besides Charlotte Mason, well, I have a few. Abraham Lincoln. He is president of the United States, as we pretty much all know. He had less than 1 year of formal education. His parents encouraged reading, self-education, being self-motivated. That's what we'll be talking about next week, and moral values. Here's what he read: the Bible, Aesop's fables, and classic literature on his own timeline. Someone didn't say, you must read these 10 books this year and these 10 things. No, he just read and absorbed it all. And he became one of the most influential leaders in history. Again, it goes back to simplicity. We're not pushing something on them. Simplicity does not limit your child. It empowers them to learn deeply and lead boldly. Y'all know I'm all about leadership education. And when you simplify, you can actually empower your kids to learn deeper than just read it through and check it off or take a multiple choice question. It empowers them to learn deeply and lead boldly because they're getting the tools of education as they learn and read. Another story is of Finland. Finland is often, this is today, ranked among the top education systems in the world. Let's talk about that. What does Finland have that the United States? Because you know the United States, and y'all may be over in Finland or the UK, I don't know, but we are one of the lowest rated, and Finland's up here. What is the difference? Finland emphasizes shorter school days, no homework for young kids, and I don't mean 3-year-olds, elementary would be good, and lots of play, preferably outside. What's their secret? Less is more. Fewer subjects, more depth. So what should we be doing? We should be focusing on what's most important. Our elementary age kids should be focusing on the language arts, the reading and the writing. When is the best time for your kids to learn a foreign language? When they're young. So when is the best time for them to dive deep into English language, reading, writing, talking about it? When they are young. Their brain is thinking that way. Then they move into abstract thinking, and you can throw the science, the math, the logic, and all of that. I actually believe when they are younger, history is a great time because it is so full of stories that the stories and the reading and the writing just go hand in hand. So Finland is, you can go off and look at more about that, but children learn more when they're not overloaded. And guess what? So do parents. You will be less stressed when you're not overloaded. And so make your days shorter. We homeschooled from breakfast to lunch. That was it. If we didn't get it done, it didn't get done. Now, they may be reading independently. They may go off and work on an art project, a craft project, a science project in the afternoon. But that, if it was done by lunchtime, we weren't going to press, we were not going to overwhelm ourselves. All right. Next, simplify your schedule and your curriculum. Again, this goes right along with Finland. Choose fewer, richer subjects. What is essential? When your kids are young, focus on languages, language arts, history, those type of things. And then pursue their interests. If they're interested in horses, pursue horses in science and math and all the other areas, and art and music. If they're interested in motorcycles, pursue motorcycles or gardening or whatever it is. Pursue their interest. I did not use a science curriculum in elementary school. I mean, we would pick a topic, we'd go to the library, we'd find some books about it, we would read about it, we'd do some activities or science experiments. Art and music, it was a once a week. We studied art or music appreciation, and then they had chances to copy that as well. So make it fun. When they get to junior high and high school, and I do know if you're going to prepare for college, you're going to at that time, not when they're 8 years old, but in junior high and high school, you may start to see, hey, we probably need to focus on this subject. But your kids may not want to go to college. Maybe they want to go to tech school. Maybe they want to start their own business. Then let them use junior high and high school to pursue those interests as well. And that's where we're going to add that science and math. The other thing that you can do to simplify your schedule is put your kids together whenever learning is possible. We had something called family time first thing in the morning. It was one entire hour. Bible devotions, all of that was done at breakfast. But during that 1 hour, we had art appreciation, music appreciation, hymns. We didn't really study them, but we did sing about them. We had poetry reading. We had citizenship. We read aloud for 30 minutes always. And it would also give us a time to discuss what we read aloud. And Bible study. So if they were doing a Bible study on their own once a week, we would talk about their Bible study. That was everyone together. And then finally, limit outside activities. You don't need to do it all. When my girls were in first and third grade, I think, or kindergarten and second, I don't know, I was driving them on the same afternoon, same child from one activity to the next. And I thought, we are not doing this again. We will finish our commitment, and then you may choose 2 outside activities a year. So no, they did not do activities all year long. My kids were really into sports. And so they had to make some choices, great decision-making activity. If you have your kids in every activity, stop it. Your relationships are more important than that. And your just mental peace of mind is more important than that. When you focus on less, your kids actually learn more. And so do you. So we need to simplify. Another thing is build rhythms instead of rigid schedules. So our rhythm was, we didn't say, oh, well, we did eat at a certain time. I want to say around 7:30. We ate lunch about 12:30. In between there, it was a mishmash. We had breakfast with devotions. Then we would get ready and the kids would practice their piano, and they had learning songs like history songs and grammar songs. And then we had our 1 hour family time, and then everyone worked individually, and I helped the ones that needed help, which was usually about 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, something like that. I think, I don't know, maybe 9:30 to 12:30. Then we had lunch, and then the rest of the afternoon was open. If they need to read, they would read. If they need to work on something, they could work on something. If they had sports practice, then they would go to sports practice later. And then we had dinner. And then on several nights, but not every night, Steve would read to them, or we may have a sporting event like basketball or baseball, softball. You see, that was a rhythm. It wasn't at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10, 10:30, 10:15, or whatever. That was just sort of what we did. A flexible structure brings peace and predictability without stress and without overwhelm. Let me repeat that. A flexible structure brings peace and predictability without overwhelm and stress. Another thing that some people do is loop scheduling. So, they work on whatever it is, and wherever they stop, they just pick up. We did that somewhat in history. I remember when Katrina hit, I think it was Katrina, hit New Orleans, a hurricane, and we had finished the middle of ancient Rome. No, we didn't finish it in May. It was Labor Day. We were getting ready to pick it up. And so we just started wherever we stopped in May, and that was it. We moved on, and that's how we would do history. And the irony is what I was reading, and we had a little book that I would read a little section each day. The description of Rome was exactly what was happening in the stadium over in New Orleans. So it's very applicable. It's sort of good loop scheduling. So it's not about doing every single thing every single day. It's about doing what matters over time. It's better to just be consistent along the way. So you were never meant to carry everything and burden this alone. Really, you need to go to God and ask Him to guide your homeschool with peace and wisdom. Simplify your life. Focus on character, a love of learning, tools of learning, and thinking skills, and a relationship with your kids. Burnout, now listen to me. Burnout doesn't mean failing. It's a sign to pause and reset. So if you're burnt out, take a pause for a week or two and reset what you're doing. You don't have to homeschool like everyone else. It would be better if you don't homeschool like everyone else. You get to build a life-giving home culture. So focus on connection over curriculum, peace over perfection, and faith over fear. Let me repeat that. Focus on connection over curriculum, peace over perfection, and faith over fear. Now, if you want to start simplifying now, I do have a free three-part, 3-day video course called How to Simplify Your Homeschool. The link to that is in the show notes. So just click that. Don't take my word for it, but how to homeschool my child .com/simplify, and you can sign up for that free course, and it will give you some printables and some things to consider as well to really focus on what is important to your family, not everyone else. Hey, thanks for spending time with me. I am Carrie Beck with Homeschool Coffee Break. We'll talk to you next time.